Life is full of bullshit, and we're here to call it out. Real talk, raw truth, and plenty of spice. Welcome to She Who Thrives.
We're your hosts, Caitlin,
Mindy,
and Harrison.
And on today's episode, we're asking a question that might make some people uncomfortable. Would you marry your spouse again?
We're not just answering yes or no. We're talking about the real side of marriage, the beginning, the struggles, what surprised us, and what we know now that we did not know then.
Let's give a little rundown of how you met, your first impressions, what drew you to them, and what you thought marriage would look like.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Sure. I think I already told this, but I met Adam. He owned Complete Nutrition. I'd walked into there, met him there. He was working, left, called a friend. Hey, bro, who's the other hot dude that works at Complete? And he was like, two things. He's young. He's married. I was like, okay, ow. But like my first impression, obviously, I was super attracted to him. You know, he was kind of everything that I usually go for in a guy. Yeah. But it was so much more than that. I mean, I've been attracted to people before, thought they were really good looking, and you have that, you know, that wow factor. But it was definitely different when I met him. And him and I, that's something we talk about all the time. And it's just not something that's really explainable to anyone. Mm-hmm. You know, I think I've read the Culpable de Fulmine on here. Have I read that on here? Our little phrase for kind of how it was when we met. You know, it's the lightning strikes and how when the lightning hits, like you're changed forever, you know, but it was just a really weird, something I'd never had before, something he says he'd never had before.
It's like the Zing. Have you seen Hotel Transylvania?
No.
They call it the Zing. You'll have to look it up.
And it is crazy because, like I said, he was married, not in a great marriage. And we did not have any, I knew him because our group of friends were the same, you know, but there was no infidelity, nothing while he was mm-hmm. married. We didn't date until after he was done. He actually dated a girl before me after he got divorced for a couple of weeks, but, there was a lot that drew me to him. I mean, he actually was really annoying, which he still is. We all know that. He is the biggest pest in the entire world, and he loves to annoy the shit out of me. But I think with our age difference, he is 14 and a half years younger than me, and I think that keeps me young. You know, I think it's just a good balance. You know, he's very, very intelligent, which most people would never know if they looked at him because he's muscly and looks like he would be a stupid meathead, you know, but he's funny. I love his smile. I love his dimples. I love his eyes. I love the way that he looks at me. I mean, there's so much about him that just drew me to him, you know, but what I think marriage would look like. You know, at the time, I honestly wasn't even thinking marriage. I didn't want a relationship. I just wanted a friend. I don't know. I kind of felt like I was done with marriage and relationships in general, but I always knew that whatever it was between us, it would be something good, you know, and something beautiful. And it did turn into marriage quickly, actually. But anyway, there you have it.
We just met through mutual friends. And I think my first impression was that he was like really, really quiet and kind of hard to read, but kind. And I know I told you, like, I was going through a lot at that time, you know, the divorce and trying to move back there and being back there and coming back. And he kind of talked to me through all of that, but like just took a step back and talked to me as a friend. I think I told you that quite a bit. Like, He's just constantly checking in on me and the kids and, seeing how we're doing. So I think that's what drew me to him initially. But, it was more so just the support and the friendship, in the beginning. I really didn't know what I thought marriage would be or should be, because the first one was the exact opposite, of what one should be. So I really didn't have any expectations. It kind of felt like the first time again, because just all of the situations around the first time, So
me and Chasen originally we went to separate high schools, but my older brother Peyton had been friends with Chasen. And I remember my mom thinking he was so obnoxious because he would come over and he was so damn loud. And he visited Peyton when he was in the hospital. And my mom was like, who is this kid? Like, he's so loud. And then
he is loud.
Yeah.
Always.
Every hours of the day. And I had a boyfriend at the time, and we had just barely broken up. And, when you have your very first boyfriend, you're like, I'm in love with this person. I can't live without them. And honestly, I had 2 friends when I was dating him because I didn't hang out with anyone but him. And so I felt really lonely when we broke up. And me and Peyton, we were close, but we weren't as close as we are now in high school. And I remember him being like, just come hang out with me. just get out of the house. Let's go. So we had actually gone and we were going to pick up either we were going to pick up Chasen or we were just meeting him at your house. And it was Chasen, his girlfriend at the time, me, and Peyton. And I think that's all it was. We went to this fair and it was so fun. And he was so nice to me. And it ended up being a downpour. And I, of course, didn't bring a jacket. I think it was May or June. So where we live, it's hot. And I just didn't think about it. And he kept trying to give me his jacket the whole time we were there. And I was like, no, I don't want to upset your girlfriend. I'm fine. We're leaving. I just don't want it to be a thing. And he's like, fine. If you don't take it, then I'm going to put it on the ground and I'm going to leave it there. And I was like, okay. So I put it on, went home that night, and I was like, this is the cutest kid. Why does he have to have a freaking girlfriend? And why does he have to be my brother's friend, And then we had hung out again around him, and he was kind of going through a breakup, but they weren't officially broken up. And also I was like, he's way too good for me, and I'm just his friend's little annoying sister. There's no way he would ever even look at me like that. And I remember he got my phone number from one of my friends and he texted me and asked if I had plans, for the weekend or something. And I was like, who is this? He's like, it's Chasen Cather. And I said, oh, I don't have plans. And he said, perfect. I've got plans for us. And so he took me out and we went razor riding, and it was so fun. And I remember just being texting my best friend, and I was like, I'm going to marry this guy. And she was like, you don't even know him. And you've gone on one date. And I guess it was a date. We went to Durango's, my choice. And then we went on a razor ride, and she was like, this is your first date. You don't know anything about him. And I was like, no, I'm going to marry him. Sure enough, it took 4 years, but we got married. And I don't know, I feel like I don't really have a type because I've only dated 2 people in my entire life, and they are completely different from another. Their looks wise, their attitudes, the things they do, they're just completely different. But I think I just love that he was wild and crazy and adventurous and so kind. to everybody. Like, there's not very many men who would be in a relationship with someone but still be like, hey, like, this girl's cold, like, can I give her my jacket? You know, some men would be like, whatever, like, that's her problem, you know. And he was just, I don't know, he was different than any other guy that I had known. So yeah, that's what drew me into him. And of course, he has the cutest blue eyes, and he's just a cheese ball. What do you guys feel like were maybe some early stage struggles in your relationship?
I think ours, especially with our age difference, was we didn't have a lot of struggles. And I know that people can be like, oh yeah, whatever, you know, but we really didn't. I think the biggest thing for us, which, like I've said before on here, it never was something that came between us, was just the fact that he was, well, he still is, so much younger than me and not very much older than my oldest child.
Any of your children, actually.
Yeah, you know, I mean, he's, how old are the twins? 24. So he's closer to the twins' age even than my age. But I think that was probably one thing that we had to learn how to work around, is the fact that, okay, he can't come in and be stepdad, you know, and I mean, he is dad, but you know, that, I mean, he was 25. He has a son, but his son was young. He had never been through the things that I had been through as a parent with teenage kids and a daughter that's pregnant right after we start dating, you know, and so that we had to learn to navigate, you know, and when the boys were disrespectful teenage boy assholes, it was like, okay, how do I do this? Because I would really like to punch them in the face and tell them not to talk to their mom like that.
Yeah.
But how do you navigate through that? You know, so I think we had to have communication there, really good communication, and learn how to navigate that together.
I think for us, the biggest struggle, like initially just dating, you know, even before marriage, was, I think we were both probably naive, not to say that we didn't figure out how to handle it well or together, but about the baggage that each of us had, you know, and how much that was really going to be. We kind of just went into it with our heads in the clouds, like, you know. So I think that was the biggest struggle initially, like getting into the relationship. I think our biggest struggle actually after getting married was the adjustment after Ava was born, because, you know, having Brecklin and Nixon with their dad on his days, we still had that time, just the two of us, you know, or the weekends, just the two of us. And then we had her, and that completely went away. So
Yeah.
that was a big adjustment for us to, I mean, still we don't get any time, just the two of us, and she's 4, but we've made it work. But that was definitely a huge adjustment, because, you know, having a new baby, a C-section, breastfeeding, co-sleeping, all of it, like, that's where all of my attention went.
Yeah.
It kind of turned our world upside down for a minute. That was definitely the biggest adjustment, I think.
I think for me and Chasen, it was, he is very much so if he has an issue with anything, he wants to talk about it right then and there. And I think because when I was younger, like, if I had issues in school or with friends, like, I didn't talk to anybody about it. I didn't go to my mom. I didn't go to my dad. I just dealt with it. Or, you know, I don't know. I didn't talk to anybody. And so I'm not, when we first started dating, like, it's still something I still have to work on, is communicating, like when I'm upset, and having those conversations. And I think that my communication has come a long way. And I think that it's something that it will continue to get better. But when we first started dating, like if we got into a little argument or whatever and he wanted to talk about it, I'm like, no, I don't want to talk to you. I'm pissed off at you. I don't want to talk about it. Give me a second and then we can talk about it. And that was always like an issue for him. Like he wanted to talk about it now. And I feel like now we're to a spot where if something really upsets one or the other, like he knows, okay, give her 5 minutes to just think about it or whatever, and then we can have that conversation. So it's not like, okay, let's go hours or days by any means, but also giving me a little bit of space, kind of meeting in the middle with, having conversations if we're upset or something. But I definitely think that was the biggest adjustment, just because I had never done that. I just didn't communicate my feelings to anybody, and it was hard to do that. So
I was going to say too, I think communication, that's like everything. That's so huge in a marriage, and especially in order to have a happy and healthy marriage. Like it's something that's just, you continually have to work on, and unless you go into a relationship or marriage where you both of your communication styles are exactly the same. Like you said, he wants to talk it out. I'm the same way. And you need your space. Like that's how he was too. Unless you both go into it like, okay, we both want to talk it out right now. There is adjustment on both sides, and you have to figure out what's going to work for the both of you, or it's just like, it's going to be constant contention,
Yeah. Communication with us too. I feel like because I was older and I had learned from past relationships, a lot of times I would hold back and not say anything, but in this relationship, it was completely different. I was at a stage in my life where I wasn't holding anything back. And
Yeah.
I would say exactly how I felt and why I felt that way. And I had to communicate with him that this is something you have to do. You can't just let something slide. If something is bothering you or whatever it may be, you have to talk to me about it. You have to tell me, because, how are you going to know what to work on if you're not told anything?
Right.
Yeah. But like I said, that's an age thing. I mean, when I was his age, I for sure didn't do that. I didn't talk at all. I held everything in,
Yeah.
I think part of it too is sometimes, at least for me, and I'm sure there's plenty of other people out there that feel the same, is especially when you're young, you don't communicate exactly how you feel about a situation, almost out of fear of them leaving. Mm-hmm. And I had gone through a lot of people leaving in my life, like a lot of step parents and a lot of step siblings. And, and I had that fear of, okay, if I just don't talk about it, then it's not a problem, but if I really tell, how I feel, what if he leaves, and I think over the years, I know, okay, he's not going anywhere. I know I can tell him exactly how I feel. And I think that communication has come, like I said, such a long way, because I'm now at the age and I know that I can tell him how I feel and he's not going to leave, Mm-hmm. And I think there's probably so many people out there that are like, even if it's not a young relationship, even older people who maybe are in their 50s, they just don't want to tell their partner exactly how they feel because they're worried, what if they leave? Which is such an awful feeling. You should always be able to be honest. And if you can't be, then you probably shouldn't be with that person.
Right. I think that's so valid. I had that same fear for a long time. I also think too, though, if you're the person or whatever the other person is that's not talking about anything, and you hold it in, or sweep it under the rug until you blow up, then the other person, I feel like, is so blindsided and caught off guard. Like, wait, I thought things were smooth sailing. So where did all this come from?
Yeah.
And then you just have problems on both ends. It's so much better to just communicate.
I agree. I don't, I say our relationship is easy. That's not to take away that there's things, of course, that he does or that I do that bug. I don't think you're human if you don't have things at certain times that you're like, ugh, that bugged me or that pissed me off or whatever it might be,
Mm-hmm.
But we don't we don't fight. What are you giggling at?
That was me last night when we were putting in an application for a rental. Jason was typing so mother effing slow and it was bugging me so bad. I was like, give me the damn computer. Like, he types like this. And I'm like,
Oh, no.
we're going to tell tomorrow. Like, and it's so funny because why is that so buggy? I don't know, but it was bugging me so bad.
I was telling him the other day, like, a relationship doesn't last 50 years on like just sunshine and pure bliss. We're going to have a lot of days where we really don't like each other. Like, as long as we still love each other and want to be together at the end of the day, there will be some days where you're bugging the shit out of me or I don't like you or, I'm pissing you off. But that's just how it goes.
Well, that's, like my cycle time. Like, I'm always more moody. And it's like, I'm so attracted to him. But at certain point during that cycle, sometimes I'm just like, ugh.
Me too.
Everything you say bugs me.
You're breathing too loud.
Stop breathing. Stop speaking.
Yeah.
But it's so weird.
When we got in the shower, Jason was like, why are you so bugged? And I told him, I'm like, you're such a slow typer. He was like, are you for real? And I was like, yes. I'm like, it was like watching the sloth in Zootopia. Like, I cannot. You are so slow. I'm like, next time, let me do it.
Don't even touch it. That's funny.
So funny. I know we all lived with our significant others before we were married, but do you feel like anything changed after you got married in your relationship? I don't feel like anything changed at all for us.
No, I feel like I look back and it was such a weird dynamic to be in because I was so young. I wasn't even out of high school yet, but my parents were divorced. My mom traveled a lot for work. I hate being home alone. So I was either staying at your house, and if we couldn't stay there, then like I would try and find a way to get him to be able to sneak into my house without my mom finding out while she was gone. And it wasn't because we just wanted to have sex, which is so funny because I'm sure everyone's like, oh, they just wanted to have sex. No, I'm terrified of staying in my house by myself. That will never change. I think I'll be 100 years old scared.
Yeah, she has to come here if Jason's gone or somewhere. I have to go there. She does not stay alone.
I can't. My body physically, like my eyes won't shut. I will literally stay awake until the sun comes up. I've done it one time. I've tried. Never again.
When Adam talks about taking Jason to Alaska, I'm always like, bro, do you know that means for 2 weeks, I'm going to have to go sleep with her?
Well, hopefully by the time they go together, Brixton will be older. So just one of those things. I can't explain it to somebody. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. And I know I'm not the only one. So
No.
That's how my oldest sister is. I feel like the age difference now plays in a lot. Like, I notice when we go for a Can-Am ride, I would rather do like this leisurely, look at all the beauty around me Can-Am ride, where he would rather go balls to the walls, drop offs on the sides, make sure he flips the dirt as we go around the turn, fast as you can. Like, he's still looking for that adrenaline rush where I'm like, I've done all that shit And now my body hurts when I do that shit. So
I'm going to throw up.
And I have to think, okay, remember when you were his age? That's how it was. You know, I forget about our age a lot because when people see us, I don't feel like people are like, oh, there's a huge age gap there, you know, and unless we talk about it, it's not something that ever comes up between him and I. But then these little things like that, or the sleep factor, you know, the fact that he could stay up till 1 a.m. and get up at 4 a.m, go to the gym and be fine. And if I do that, I'm dead. Yeah.
I can't do that either. I can't. I need to go to bed. I've always been like that, though. I would have sleepovers at my house, and I'd be like, "Okay, friends, 8 o'clock, I'm going to bed. You can hang out by yourself, or you can go to sleep with me, but I'm going to bed."
Oh my gosh.
So funny. I'm glad that Adam's an old soul because I think that evens it out. You know, yeah. I'm probably more immature than I should be for my age. He says that all the time too.
Does he really?
He just says he's mature and I'm immature, so we meet in the middle, which we all know he's not. He's immature as shit. Today, we went to church because Grandpa was speaking at church. We go to church. Some little girl sitting in front of us in a cross, it's like looking back. What's he do? Sticks his tongue out at her. So then she's like hiding behind the pew. Oh. She would poke her eye out every once in a while and he'd flip his head and look at her. And I'm like, would you leave her? Like, you're this big, scary, giant looking guy with tattoos and leave her alone.
My favorite is when he asks me stuff about Jet like I know what he's thinking. He'll be like,
he asks a lot of those questions.
Is he having fun? I'm like, I don't know. He has a smile on his face just like you can see.
Like, ask him.
I always say, ask him.
He does ask a lot of those questions. What do you think's going through his head? I don't know. Ask him.
Remember when we watched Home in Hawaii and he was asking us questions the whole time?
Yeah. Why are those ones purple? Why are those ones green? Well, that one's orange. Did they do those when they're happy? Like, we don't know.
He's inquisitive.
Yeah, he is. So I think for a lot of people, blending families can be pretty difficult. But I feel like for us, that part went really smooth. Like, thank goodness the kids were as young as they were, and they were all kind of just like, oh, you know, like, these are our new siblings. This is our our new family. You know, I think that part was really, really easy, thankfully. Again, I think that the only struggle there was, you know, me coming from the situation I was in and him, the situation he was in, is that we both still had a lot of unhealed trauma and trust issues and all kinds of things that we had to really choose to work through together. I think that was definitely the hardest part about blending it. It wasn't anything with the kids, and it was just more about, you know, those unhealed parts of us that we really had to work on. And that wasn't a quick fix by any means, you know. That took a lot of self-reflection and growth and a lot of wanting to do the work.
Yeah.
Which is hard for a lot of people. They'd rather just give up.
Yeah.
And there probably was times that, yeah, you could have just thrown in the towel, you know.
It's a lot easier.
But I think you've both put in a lot of work, especially this last year or so.
Yeah. I mean, on top of that, we both had, like, you know, a mommy and a daddy issue. And so that was like an added layer that was even more to work through, I feel like.
Yeah.
I was also going to say, you know, the way that we were each raised was another thing that we were naive about, was so completely different. You know, the things that each of us saw every day, the things that were normal to us or not, or, there was even, he was like, oh, when we grew up, like, you're not going in mom and dad's room for anything. You're not stepping foot in there. And I was like sleeping in my mom's bed as a teenager. We were all there watching TV together, So we were both raised very differently. And that also plays a part, not just in parenting, but in blending your families, and blending your styles of parenting, which is also something that took, work and time to figure out what worked for both of us. And meeting in the middle somewhere, like, just because this is what you're used to or what I'm used to doesn't mean that that's the right way to do it,
Yeah.
And that's got to be so hard, because the way you're raised, you feel like that's the correct way most of the time,
Yeah.
And when you look at other people that they're like you said, no, you don't step foot in our bedroom, where you're like, that's freaking weird. But then the fact that if I was single and you had a bad evening or whatever, and you came and slept in my bed, to some people that would be freaking weird.
Yeah.
Where to us, that was just like normal.
That's how it was.
Yeah.
I don't really know that I necessarily had like struggles with getting married young. I don't know. I don't know that I would say that there was like things that I was worried about getting married young, because I mean, yes, we were young, but we weren't like 16 and 17. I was 21, and so I didn't feel like I was like super super young. Of course, there were still things that we had to figure out, but I do feel like for our ages, we were probably way more mature and way more, I don't want to say financially stable, because it's not like we had like all this money, but I felt like we were pretty good about, where we put our money, the fact that we were able to build a home and moved into it before we were even married. And so I don't know. I feel like a lot of couples who do get married young, they struggle a lot with, finances, and not to say that we didn't ever have struggles, because we definitely did, but it was never like this thing that was really, really hard on our relationship. So I don't know. I don't know that getting married young is really an issue.
Do you feel like you guys have grown up together though, and have evolved together? And do you feel like you're evolving on the same path? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of funny to like look back at where we started and where we are now, just like even just like the things that we would do, like on a random night, we would just go do whatever we wanted. And now it's like, we have to ask our parents if we can go to dinner, or, something like that. Like, it's just so funny how things have changed, how our interests have, changed a little bit. And I think honestly, the biggest and hardest thing for us as far as like change has been friendships, because we both in our teenage years liked to party. And I honestly didn't go through like a long party phase. I literally went through a party phase of like a couple weeks. But I feel like because of those couple weeks, a lot of my friends at that age liked to drink and liked to party. Same with Chasen. A lot of his buddies loved to do shotgunning beers, and we would have like these little fun nights where we'd have like a couple friends over and we would just drink and play games. And now that's like not even remotely something that we would want to do. Like, that just doesn't sound fun anymore. And I feel like a lot of our friends that were our friends during that time, they're still friends of ours, but they still do that. They still like to drink and like to party, and we're just not in that phase of life anymore. And so I feel like friendships has been really hard, just because our friends have different interests than we do, and they're just in a different phase of life. So I feel like that's kind of a little tough. Of course, we still have a couple of friends, that do have families, and we'll get together with sometimes. But I don't know. I think that's been hard, and just I don't know. it's weird to think about being together as teenagers and then adults.
Mhm.
Like you're a completely different person than we've almost been together for 10 years. That's crazy.
It's a long time, yeah. We've talked a lot too about growing up together because, yes, we were both in long relationships, before each other, but we feel like we have done the most growing up, like being together, not just as individuals, but together, And I think that's one of the best things about it is like that want to really grow and to build something beautiful together. Because, I wasn't necessarily young, but I think I was like, 24, 25 when I met him. And that still feels so young to me compared to today. Like we were completely different people then.
Yeah.
But even me, I was 40 when I met Adam. And I feel like I have grown more with him than I ever did.
Yeah.
The life I lived before that would never even cross my mind now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm completely different person than I was then.
Right.
So I don't think you can ever put a cap on growth, an age cap.
I agree. I think it's about being with a person that brings that out in you, that you want to do those things.
Grow with you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think another cool part about being together so young, and not even so young, just for over a long period of time, is thinking about the dreams and the goals that each of us have had over those years and seeing how many of those dreams and goals each of us has achieved over those years. And honestly, a lot quicker than I would have ever anticipated. We thought, building a new house, like, that'll be years and years and years down the road. And we were able to do it in the first little bit of our marriage, which a lot of people aren't able to do. And that's something that we've always been really proud of and very fortunate, because there's some people that will never be able to own a home in their entire life.
Yeah.
So I think that's another cool part about being with someone for a long time, is just looking at where you were and the things that you had dreams and goals about and the things that you've accomplished over the time that you've been together.
Yeah.
What's been the hardest season of your relationship?
I would say postpartum, just because I think it rocks your world. I think adjusting to a completely different life literally overnight is insane to think about. And I think that I knew that being a mom was hard, but I guess it's a full-time job. It's not like when you're babysitting or you're nannying and you get to go home and go to bed. When you have kids, you have to take care of them 24/7. They wake up in the middle of the night. And I think that's been definitely the hardest season for us, is, right after we had Brixton, and then I felt like it got easier as he got older. And now we're kind of back in this hard season again, because we have, Jet, who's still really little, but then Brixton is back in like this really hard stage. So I think that just going through seasons with kids has been the hardest.
Yeah. I mean, I think ours was, 3 years ago, when like Luis was working at Ford, and then it kind of came to the end of it where like that was taking such a huge toll on his mental health. Like just the environment, the people there were horrible, which obviously like just affected his mental health a ton. He was there all the time. And so then we're kind of like, okay, just be done, like we'll figure out whatever it is that we have to do, but just be done, So then figuring that out, and him kind of taking a step back and being at home, and me going and scrubbing toilets, but as hard as that adjustment was, and it's like, okay, where do we go from here, and how do things look now? It was also kind of beautiful, because it gave us a chance to really like be in each other's shoes for the first time and just be able to see things from each other's perspectives. I think I kind of was drowning in postpartum too for a long time with Ava, especially being here by myself. You know, when I went through postpartum with the other two, I was there. So that was pretty hard. So to be able to, even though I was cleaning, you know, just have time for me, you know, and just
Cleaning houses for other people,
yeah,
not cleaning your house.
no, but yeah, me going to work and him, you know, just kind of switching roles. It really gave us a chance to like step into each other's shoes and see things very, very differently. So yes, you know, it was ugly, but then it really, I think, turned into something beautiful that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
I think that some people don't realize that no job and no amount of money will ever be worth your mental health.
No. He says all the time, like, money can always be made back, right? But time can't. At the end of the day, like, it just can't. So.
Yep.
What do you think, Mom?
I don't know that there's been a hard season, but we're in such a different place, you know?
Yeah.
There's been things that we've gone through together. There was some issues with his family and going through those together and just like having each other's backs. It makes your relationship so much better going through hard things. I don't feel like there was hard between him and I. It was always something together that we were going through. My brother, I think that was the hardest thing. Well, you know, losing your dad was obviously hard. And then I had you guys that I had to worry about, you know, losing my brother. He was in the picture when that happened. And just having him there and being the rock that he was for me. And that took a long, I mean, that still has its times, you know, where it's like, I'll just sob. And just knowing that somebody's there for you to lean on in those hard times is just a good thing. I don't feel like there was like a hard season in our marriage, but there's been many hard things that we've gone through, you know, that have made it just that much stronger and better.
Yeah.
I think when you can be your very most vulnerable with someone and feel like you're at the lowest point in your life where you would literally just lay in bed and cry for days if you could and not eat and not shower. And you have somebody there that you can lean on and they'll put you in the shower if they have to and feed you a meal if they have to, you know, that says a lot about somebody. Yeah. That they'll stay there with you and take care of you during those times. I think that's what everyone needs to look for.
I think so.
Jason's had to do those for me. I know that for a fact. Oh, thank goodness we're out of those trenches.
I know a lot of people that have been married, some not so long, some a long time, that it's literally like they're roommates. They're not even partners. They're roommates, period, the end. What do you feel like are some things you can do to not let it get that way?
I feel like, I mean, I had this, you know, kind of in my notes to touch on because I had that the first time. Like, we didn't go to bed at the same time. I feel like we lived two, like, completely separate lives. If we were to sit down on the couch and watch a movie together, like, he's sitting on one side, I'm sitting on the other. It was just completely separate. And like you said, no partnership, like, it never, ever felt that way. It almost kind of felt like I was over here with my family and he was over there with his, you know, but yeah. I think it's all about the intention and number one, like picking and choosing your battles And it's just like the small things. Like, it's so easy. Like, now there's not a day that goes by that he's not, telling me how much he loves me or what he appreciates about me, whether it be something old or something I did that day or that week or whatever, or trying to like lessen my load. Like we were just talking about it this morning. It's really just the small things and the intention behind it.
Mm-hmm. I think too, listening when they're talking to you. There's a difference between just listening and listening, something like I told Chasen, I was like, I really want to get new earrings. And he thought about that. And the next day he goes and buys me new earrings. I never expected that from him. It was just the fact that
you can't just say earrings. Those are rocks in your ears if you want to go like this to the camera.
Yeah, they are.
And they're not cheap rocks. They're not QVCs.
Yeah, they're not from
Do you even know what QVC is? Do you know what QVC is?
No.
It was like a network shopping thing on TV.
Yeah.
Way back when.
Yeah. I think just listening when your partner's just talking in general, I think knowing their love language and fulfilling that. I think like the little things, writing them a little sticky note, telling them that you love them, making them lunch without being asked, making them a coffee, just little acts of service and showing them that you love them and care about them and are thinking of them. Even a simple text like, I love you. I can't wait for you to get home today. That I don't know a person that wouldn't, oh my gosh, like my wife or my husband, they can't wait for me to get home. I think people overlook such little things like that when really that's how you get through a long marriage, is communicating and letting them know that they're constantly on your mind, that you love them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and how many times do you see couples where they're at a restaurant or whatever it may be, and one of them is on their phone? I think the phone is such a distraction for people, even in your own home. Even if you are sitting watching a movie or whatever it may be together, and one person is scrolling or on their phone, that's not, you're distracted. Yeah. I think, like you said, having the attention, listening, fully listening and engaging with your partner is huge.
Yeah. It's that quality time.
Yep.
Like you said,
even if it is.
Yeah, pillow talk. So many people get stuck on thinking it's got to be about the grand gesture, and it really doesn't. Like, of course, every once in a while, that's great. But
at the end of the day, does the grand gesture, if all you're doing is a grand gesture, but you're not doing any of those little things, does that grand gesture make a shit bit of difference?
No.
Maybe while you're there, treat me like shit and then take me to Fiji. We might have fun while we're in Fiji. We'll probably fight because that's how our relationship is all the rest of the time.
Right.
So does that grand gesture really make shit bit of difference?
No.
It is those little things that make a difference in a marriage.
Marriage is supposed to require like work. It's not like you just put in all this work at one time and you're like, okay, we're good for the next 25 years. I mean, I don't think that it should be like this really hard work all the time. If it is, it's probably not your person. But you make a conscious effort and a choice to put that work in. Mm-hmm. Whether it's small things or not.
Exactly. Even when I say I feel like our marriage is easy because we're both always working on it.
Right.
And if you don't work on it,
your marriage won't be easy.
It just falls apart.
If your partner is constantly making you cry and feel depressed, they're the wrong person to be married to.
You also both have to be willing to put the effort and work in. It can't be a one-sided thing. That will never work. What do you feel like after 10 plus years has made you stay? Like, what about it has made your relationship work?
All those little things. All those little things add up.
Yeah.
Respect, 100%. I feel like respect is number one. I still find him the most attractive man on the planet. I never thought I could do that. I always got so sick of people, and got the ick after so long with them, like the real ick.
Yeah.
And it's just so completely different with him, like call it a soulmate, call it whatever you may, but I feel like that's what we are for each other, and I wouldn't want to do life without him. I can't imagine doing life without him. Yesterday we had all gone up to my sister's cabin, and when we got ready to leave, we had parked our truck at a turnoff and we had rode our Can-Am in the dirt road. It's only like 15, 20 minutes, but my other sister, when we got ready to leave, she said to Adam, please drive safe. You've got my best friend in there. And he said, no, she's my best friend. And I'm like, that's really what it is. We choose to be each other's best friends.
Yeah.
And we would rather spend that time with each other than anyone else. Do we have other friends? Of course we do. I go do things with my girlfriends. He goes and does things with his guy friends, but we love being together and we love spending that time together. And I think as long as you nourish that and keep that relationship open, there are so many things that I look at every day and I don't feel like I could be more blessed than I am with him. Yeah. I really don't. There are so many things that I absolutely love about him that I've never had that before with anybody else, and I want to keep that alive. And honestly, every year it really does get better. It's not great. It wasn't great at first and then it's gone downhill since then. Yes, it was great at first. Now it's totally different. We've evolved and we've grown, but it's better now than it was in the beginning. And I really do. I feel like every year it gets better. I love that he loves me for all of me, for the shit that I shouldn't have done in my life that I have done, that he doesn't just love me, he loves all of you. My kids, my other kids that came into the marriage, my grandkids, my family, that's all incorporated and he loves all of that. I love that even though there's times where I feel like I am aging and you get worried about that with the age difference, I never want people to go, is he with his mom? He still finds me so attractive and make sure to tell me that all the time, and just at the most random times, it's just like we've always said, it's those little things that keep it alive, and I'm staying till I'm dead.
I always want to tell you like, oh, you look so beautiful or you look so sexy when it's like, you look like a bum. Like sometimes when she do that, I'm like, are you lying?
I know. Why'd you say that? What do you have to tell me next?
What do you want? We were working out this morning and he's like, you're so hot. And I was like, I know. I was literally sweating. I know. It's gross. He's like, no, that's not how I meant it. I was like, you are so weird.
We said that exact thing yesterday. And I said that exact same thing. I'm so hot. And he's like, I know you are. And I'm like, no, gross, sweaty, hot. Exact same.
Isn't that the best feeling though? And especially after years have gone by, or especially in moments when you don't feel like it or you're not expecting it. That's just like the best.
Or even like I've told Harrison, those gropes, those copperfills that sometimes we're like, ugh, but
at least they're still attracted to us and still grabbing.
Yeah. I do think the the friendship and being best friends is like just the biggest part of it for me. I feel like it's so important. And just to be able to like laugh together every day over the dumbest shit makes a huge difference. I also feel like, other people may not notice it or may never know it, but like the growth that I have seen, especially in the last year, 2 years, whatever, is like there's not even any words to describe it.
Yeah.
The willingness to grow. And like I said, we both came into this with so much like baggage, unhealed trauma, whatever you want to say, but wanted to work through it together, to put the work in to work through it. It's been crazy. And to be with somebody that wants to build with you.
Mm-hmm.
Once sees your potential. Like I feel like we have seen that in each other, even when other people haven't. Sees your potential and knows your dreams and the things that you want to accomplish, and is your biggest cheerleader. I've had a lot of times where I felt like he believed in my dreams and the things that I wanted way more than I did.
Yeah.
I feel like that's also such an important part.
Yep. Knowing everything that you know, would you do it all over again? Would you marry who you're married to now?
Absolutely. I think it's better than I would have ever imagined it to be. And I know that it's only going to get better.
Right.
Same. 100%.
The future is bright.
Marriage is not about finding the perfect person. It's about choosing someone again and again, even after you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yep. This week's tip is to choose your partner intentionally, not just in the beginning, but every freaking single day. Relationships don't stay strong by accident. They stay strong because both people keep showing up, putting 100% effort in, growing, and choosing each other.
Thank you for hanging out with us on today's episode of She Who Thrives. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. We will be back next Wednesday with a brand new episode. But until then, remember, no matter what you're doing, do it to the best of your ability and always strive to thrive.
Bye.
What was that? Wow.
Her flower expanding.
Ew, that sounds gross.
Opening up and letting it in.